Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco, dish out on the movies. But today I am reviewing season 4 of Monk. And I'll just say as usual, I enjoyed the season. There were a couple of episodes I put at the bottom that I would label as cringeworthy, one of them, and the other one was depressing. And really cringeworthy, and I'll explain just by the title of the episode. I think some of you might understand even if I didn't say anything about it at all. Just the title would probably lead you to why I put it where I put it.
Mr. Monk ranks things with Safi. That should be an episode.
So anyway, I enjoy watching this. I almost binge watched this in a few days, and then I rewatched episodes. I was actually just a little while ago, while I was having my lunch, because I can't write and eat at the same time. So I was rewatching one while I was eating lunch, and then I turned it off because I knew I had to do this. And it's kind of dark in here. I hope I can read it.
Yeah, you basically rewatched the whole season.
Pretty much, but the ones like the cringeworthy one, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. So, okay, so my worst, there's 16 episodes again. So, like I said, what we said repeatedly, that if you have a few bad episodes and you have 16, then that's fine because you have room for that. And if you only have 6 and you have bad episodes, then that probably makes the whole season bad. So when you have this many episodes, the season it's good, really, for the most part. You can remember it in a good way. So my number 16 episode is Mr. Monk Goes to the Dentist. Now, it was cringeworthy. Why? No, people don't care for going to the dentist. No, that wasn't it. It was just because he has so many phobias, and it was just so, and they weren't even doing much. They weren't even hardly even touching him. And it was just like he was dying and having all of his teeth pulled out, ripped out. And they weren't even touching him. He was just so scared, and it was just so awful and to watch. It was a nightmare to watch it. I'd never watch it again because you just can feel it, how awful it would be for somebody like him.
Yeah, they turned what could have been an okay episode into a horror movie.
It was a horror movie.
It
was awful.
It's like, they have episodes where he would go to the doctor. They could have an episode like that. There's this one where it's about Mr. Monk and the leper. And those are fine. those are fine. They deal with those in a satisfying way. But with Mr. Monk Goes to the Dentist, they purposefully make it as nightmarish as possible, and it really is probably one of the worst episodes of television, simply because you don't want to watch it.
Yeah, it's just because you just feel like, my God. It probably would influence your going to the dentist, just thinking about the episode. So I'm just like, I could never watch this again. So, but kudos to them, because they made it so miserable that it really had an effect on you. So that if it has some kind of effect on you, whether it's like you're sad, you're glad, you're happy, but you're in cringeworthy mode when you see this. So,
and even before that, it's terrible because Randy has like this toothache, and they just go on and on about it, and like
that was awful.
It's even cringeworthy before they even go to the dentist.
And that was Randy. That wasn't him.
Like,
and he was miserable.
Really bad.
So that was actually a good part too. So, and that wasn't even anything about Monk. That was Randy. And another part of that is he quits. And because they won't believe what he saw when he was under anesthesia, because he saw them hurt somebody, maybe even kill them, and they didn't believe it. They thought he was imagining things, and he was mad because he knew what he saw, even if he was under anesthesia, because he wasn't completely under. It was almost wearing off because he'd been under it for too long. So anyway, that was another thing. So anyway, the next one was number 15, and it's Mr. Monk, I'm sorry, and the captain's marriage. Now, I thought this was depressing because what happens is he ends up, the captain's, his wife leaves him. They're going to get a divorce. But another thing I didn't like about it is he sends Mr. Monk out to, he thinks she's having an affair, and he sends him out to watch her. And I thought that was so totally inappropriate. And I mean, in real life, maybe it would happen, on a police force. I don't know, but I just thought it was awful.
It was out of character.
Totally out. And I don't think he would do that. And he didn't want to do that. And the only thing that's kept it from the bottom was that the mystery was somewhat creative, because it was but it was very loose and not much to it, but it still was depressing, and I didn't care for it. But it was, the cringeworthy one is the worst. And there's nothing in this list that's going to outdo the cringeworthy.
And there's a lot of funny stuff in it, like the thing with him having a yo-yo.
Oh yeah,
and
because he has a temper.
He's got, and what's really cool about the yo-yo is that he has that the rest of the series. He has a yo-yo in his office. He even uses it on occasion, and I really like that. Like, they add these little tiny things that will stay with the characters forever. The thing though that I hate, even though I liked the episode, but I hated the fact that he got divorced to that woman.
Yeah,
because
I didn't think that was necessary.
Because it was stupid. Like, just keep her. Like, if they wanted to do some stories with another love interest, which they do, and it's terrible, then just have him get divorced, do that story, and then have him get back together with her.
Yeah.
But the fact that this is her last episode, like, ugh, that's terrible.
Okay, well, the next one is actually, you could probably change these. You could make this next to the last episode, because I did not care for it at all. The only reason why I put that next to the last one was mainly the two things was depressing, because they got a divorce, and number two, because he made Mr. Monk go follow his wife, and I thought that was inappropriate, and he would never do it. And like Marco said, it was out of character. That's the only reason why that beat this one out. This was Mr. Monk and the Big Reward, and it was about this diamond ring that gets stolen. I mean, a really super-sized diamond from this museum, and somehow it gets put under the table. It just is stupid. Under the table in one of the interrogation rooms, in some gum. Like people chew gum and then they stick it under the table, like under their school desk or something. And it involves a cleaning lady who works at the station, and there ends up being a big competition amongst these people, including Monk and Natalie, about finding the diamond, because if they turn it in, they get like $1 million or something, maybe more than that, reward. And it's just, I didn't care for it. There's nothing else to say about it.
Terrible.
I didn't like the mystery.
It's one of the worst rated episodes from people on IMDb.
I believe it. I just didn't care for it. But like I said, it couldn't there's no way it could overtake the other one, because the other one was more personal. I think this one was just completely, like, it was almost a throwaway episode. There's nothing good about it. It's just stupid. And okay, my next one is 13, and it's Mr. Monk and Mrs. Monk. And it takes, what happens is, this woman appears, and I think it really is the woman who usually plays his wife Trudy when they show like scenes from the past, or she visits him as a ghost or whatever, and it's this woman who impersonates Trudy, to get a key from her best friend's storage locker because it has some incriminating files in it that would implicate this guy who's in some kind of position of power, and he wants that so he can tear it up, and so would be completely secure about where he is. And what was really bad about this, it wasn't just the mystery I didn't care for, the fact that Mr. Monk was doing really good, and he went to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist really excited, and I mean he's doing really well, and it's like he's almost losing some of his fetishes with keeping things neat, and then all of a sudden he finds out that well, I mean, he was showing progress, I'll just put it that way. And he finds out that, because Natalie just overheard, and this woman wears a wig and dresses up as her, and she makes this big showing in public because she's trying to convince this old man to give up this key. And she has a dislike she's allergic to fish, and she likes, to put cinnamon or something in her coffee or something like that, and so she hears all that, and then she's so torn up because she thinks Trudy's still alive, and she just hasn't told him.
You mean he thinks that she's still alive?
But Natalie thinks this, and she gets all upset, and then she has to tell him, and then he almost completely falls apart. And that word I was thinking of, where you can't move or say anything, and you just get in such a shocked persona.
Ooh,
it's called
anxious.
catatonia.
Anxious.
No, it's called catatonia.
Ooh,
I couldn't think of it.
Jitterbugs.
But anyway, he gets almost to that state, and then he goes to the cemetery, and for some reason he figures out she's still dead. I watched it again. I still can't figure out why he decides that woman is a phony. Which she is. She's not his wife. She just wanted to get the key.
Well, you hated the episode too.
I did not like the episode at all.
Well, I didn't talk about this in my review, but when I think about that episode now, I associate with something that I was doing, and I was eating Oreos and milk, and I ate 2 Oreos out of 6. And with the milk dipped in it, and then I took a drink of the milk, and I realized that I was eating Oreos with sour milk. And it was because the terrible refrigerator.
And we had a horrible refrigerator at the other house
that they never replaced.
They wouldn't replace it.
And so things would spoil, and they would get rotten.
Very easily.
And the milk got spoiled after like a day.
Yeah.
And so that's what I associate this episode with, because that's what I was having some sour milk Oreos. And then that's not the worst part. The worst part is what I had to do is I had to pour some water into the cup and dip the Oreos in water, which was so gross.
That's just awful.
But I had to.
Yeah, I know. Okay, now my next one is number 12. It's Mr. Monk and the Other Detective.
Ew.
And the only reason why this ranks higher than those others is because of the mystery. I thought it was a pretty good mystery. And that's one thing that is intriguing about this show, and something that I like is I do like mysteries, and that's what this show basically is. It's just the way they're solved and who solves them that even adds a bigger intrigue, and also the creativity that's involved in making the episodes, the storylines, and the person that's in this, the main character, it's Jason Alexander, and I can't stand him. He plays the other detective, and he looks like a clown. All he had to do was put makeup on his face, and he looked like a clown in a circus.
Now, Safi, it has to be said that you have some sort of a prejudice.
Well, I don't care.
Because,
I don't like him. I can't stand
okay, well, let's go through it. Jason Alexander.
This is weird.
Well, he
was in Jerry Seinfeld.
Jason Alexander.
Good part.
You don't like him.
No.
You don't like Jonah Hill.
No.
You don't like Zero Mostel.
No, he's better than him.
So what's the common variable?
They're slobby pig clowns.
Safi.
But Zero Mostel is a lot more professional, and he's a lot more talented than both of them because he can sing and dance. He can do anything, really, because he really sets his mind to it.
I would rank them as Jonah Hill, then Zero, then
really?
Jason.
Oh, gross! I would rank Zero Mostel 1.
Well, I'm not talking
Jason 2, and then
I'm not talking
Jonah Hill 3.
I'm not talking about like their appearance, like in terms of like
their acting.
Jonah Hill looks terrible now, but in terms of like his acting, like he is really good.
Okay.
It's just that he hasn't really done anything, is what I'm saying. Like he took this big break, and then he came back and he directed a movie, and then he acted in something, and so it seems like he's fallen off. So, but I like him more because he does have a lot more talent than Zero and Jason. Jason Alexander, all he does is just play himself over and over and over again. Like, I don't see a single moment of acting from him the whole episode.
Yeah.
I gave it a C when I watched it.
Okay, well, the next one is Mr. Monk and Little Monk.
Ew.
And I did not like this episode.
That should have been lower.
Because, but the thing that saved it and put it up higher than the others was the fact that the one who plays him as a kid, they did an excellent job.
Oh.
A really good job.
God,
The mystery is awful. I don't like the mystery at all. And I started watching it again because I don't understand. I'm trying to even think what was the problem. I know that these two guys came in, and the woman who lived there interrupted them. They ended up killing her, but I think it was like an accidental thing. I don't think they weren't there to kill her. I don't believe. And then they get a spray paint, and they spray on this painting face, like a happy face, and I just thought that was the most idiotic thing. I couldn't stand it. And then the person who's related, I guess, to the woman who was killed was somebody who Monk went to school with. And so that's why they have like a parallel kind of episode where they show Monk as a kid and then this woman as a kid, and how she acted like she had a crush on him, but then you're not really trusting that. You don't believe it. And then you see him as an adult, trying to help solve this mystery for her as an adult. And I just didn't care for it either. It's just, but what saved it was the kid. I thought he did an excellent job. It was interesting to see him, like a parallel thing or storyline where they show one on top of the other, him as him and then as a kid, back to back, or going along together.
I disagree. I think it would have been so much better if it was just if they revealed that Monk had an obsession with with drawing male genitalia and hiding the drawings in his Ghostbusters.
I was talking about that stupid Superbad and Jonah Hill. That never would happen.
Why?
Anyway, never would happen. Anyway, my next one is number, that was 11. My next one is number 10, and it's Mr. Monk Goes to a Wedding. Now, Marco doesn't care for this.
Well, it's not great. Like, when you think about the season as a whole, you just go through the episodes and go like,
Well, the reason why I was more fascinated with it, because the villain-ness in the episode, it's what happens is Natalie's brother getting married, and the woman he's going to marry is a, what do they call it, Black Widow, which means she's killed several men who's her husbands. and so he's going to be the next one to be killed. But it's a Hallmark actress, a very famous Hallmark actress. She's been in a million Hallmark movies, and she's you would never ever see her as a villain in these movies. You know, she always has a love interest, and she's a teacher, or she's a baker, or whatever. She's a veterinarian or something, you know, and she's always falls in love with her co-star. And it was so funny to see her because she was bad. I mean, she put at the end of this episode, what happened was Randy came with Natalie as her escort, and Randy, in a previous job, he knew who she was and what she had done, and that she had had 2 husbands who she killed. And so she put on like a stocking cap and, you know, a sweatshirt, and she ran over him. And he broke, but she didn't kill him, broke his arm at the wedding, and broke his leg and his arm. And so to put him out of commission because he could recognize her before she could get away with her husband, her new husband, Natalie's brother. And so anyway, at the end though, she puts a knife to her new husband's, because they had just gotten married. They had just tied the knot, and they were leaving to go to Mexico. And they tried to stall him because Monk knew who it was, and the captain had to get Randy out of his bedroom, his hotel room, and you know he had all these casts.
See, that's the second half of the episode, Safi.
Well, that was great, but she put a knife to his throat and said real mean words. You know, I want a plane in 30 minutes. Gassed up and ready to go.
The first half of this episode is terrible, and it's just like, you know, Natalie's stupid family and their boring white bread drama, and like
they're mean to
just
her.
Boring.
They don't think she knows anything. She even presents them with the evidence, her mother anyway, with the evidence that she's a killer, that woman that their son is marrying is a killer. It's not so she's not perfect, and they don't believe her. So anyway,
yeah, like the second half is good though, with Randy getting run over and then having to wheel him down. Yeah.
So anyway, it was such a novelty to see her be so evil and putting a knife to somebody's throat, and the way she talked.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. It was like a shock. I had to watch it a couple times to believe what I was seeing. So, anyway, gotta get going. Number 9 is Mr. Monk goes to a fashion show, and I didn't care for the mystery that much, except there was a couple of redeeming things about it. He gets his shirts from this special men's store, and he only gets ones that, you know, when you have a shirt or some kind of other garment, and it'll have inspected by number whatever, or a name, or a letter, and it had inspected by, I think it was number 5, and so he only buys shirts that have that little piece of paper that says inspected by number 5, because she, or whoever it is, does an excellent job at making sure there's no problems with the shirt, no holes, no rips, no threads.
Well, I like to wear shirts exclusively with holes in them.
Yeah, right. So anyway, but he notices the shirts are messed up, and finds out that her son was arrested for a crime he didn't commit, and that's what leads them to this fashion show, or this fashion episode. And the other thing that I thought that was fascinating, that whole thing with the inspector.
Yeah, that part was good. That was the best part. But then the rest of it is trash.
Yeah, I don't like the rest of it. Well, the other part of it that I did like was Malcolm McDowell's in it, And I think he always does a really good job. And he always does a good job playing a villain because he's played so many of them.
Yeah, like the one who you'll be seeing this weekend.
Oh, yeah, okay, Mark is real excited about the last movie I have to watch that I don't want to watch.
Yeah, because I'll make you throw up.
Yeah, okay, well, hopefully it won't.
Hopefully
so anyway,
it will.
I just won't say anything more about it, but because it really, the mystery is, and the daughter, she sneaks out because he asked her to be part of the show, and I didn't like that at all either. She's just a little girl, and it was kind of, that part was a little cringeworthy, where he's inviting her to be a part of it, like he might abuse her or something. I didn't care for that. So anyway, I did that. I'm just making up. I mean, it's just that I just still didn't like that part. So anyway.
Well, maybe he just wanted to give her some candy.
Oh God. Okay, number 8 is Mr. Muck and the Secret Santa. This is their Christmas episode, and a bottle of port that's been poisoned is given to the captain. He doesn't like to drink port.
Oh yeah,
it
it
is
was
a
good.
very heavy wine. My mom used to love it, and she would buy it, so that's why I know all about port.
It's pretty good.
And it's very heavy, and he doesn't want it, so he ends up giving it to this other police person.
And then he dies.
And he dies, and so
So they have to figure out who sent it.
Right, and did they? And he see because it was sent to the captain. The captain thinks it was meant for him, and so some of some of the episode I didn't care for, but overall, I mean, it was a Christmas episode. It was a mystery. The mystery was interesting. It was different, and since it was Christmas related, we just went through Christmas. I thought it was okay. So it's number 8.
I like it.
So anyway, number 7 is Mr. Monk Bumps His Head.
That one was good.
That is where he...
Pretty good. Mr. Monk gets raped.
No, Marco, don't say stupid
Or,
stuff like
is she
that.
about to rape him and she never
No.
does? Yeah, Safi, because he doesn't know who he is.
Well, it never happened, so...
But it was
I think
about
she
to.
found her conscience.
She was going to rape Mr. Monk.
Well,
Which is
what
really
happens
funny.
He's trying to he wants to see this photograph that shows something about his wife's death, wife Trudy's death, and he figures out, because he's so smart, and this guy was trying to get money from him too, and he figures out the photograph is a fake. The guy bumps him over the head, throws him into the back, or knocks him into the back of this truck. The truck leaves this trucking area and goes all the way into Wyoming or Montana, I can't remember,
Somewhere.
and stops at the small town, and Monk gets out. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't have a memory.
And then this crazy woman finds him, and she tells him that he's her husband.
Yeah.
And he's been her husband for a long time. And, they kind of excuse everything that she did by having at the end, like, she's lonely.
Yeah, well, he said, I won't press charges, but anyway, they have a mystery of their own there, and he solves it, helps solve it, and the sheriff wants to hire him as an assistant sheriff or something, and but then Natalie and the police, the captain and Randy figure out what's happened to where he's ended up, and they come and get him, and he starts remembering everything. It's only a temporary amnesia, and everything turns out, but it's very interesting and fun, and it's different. You expect him, and they didn't know what he would do because of all his phobias and everything. They didn't know how he would react, and would he have some kind of breakdown, and they just didn't know, and it was a little scary in terms of that. So, okay, my next one is Mr. Monk, and it's number 6. Mr. Monk gets drunk, and
that one was really good.
This one, he goes to this place where he and Trudy used to go, so he goes there once a year. Natalie goes with him, and it's this like wine up in northern, California, above San Francisco. They have all these farms, vegetable fruit, mushroom, and wineries, and because it's just a wonderful growing area.
Yeah, like, Chauncey, he bragged that he shot Amityville Karen at this winery for like $200 a day, and now they're charging $1,000 a day.
Oh, really?
To film there.
What was interesting, and so they have in real life up there north of San Francisco, they have a ton of places to do an episode like this. And so they go to this winery, and it's all about this. He's there, and he's sitting at a table, and this guy shows up. He sits down with them, and he has a lot of money to spend. And he's this guy we've seen in other, like, he actually usually plays a cop. And we've seen him in this episode about Haunted Ohio or something.
No, it was haunted houses. And,
yeah, and
we've seen him all over.
He's usually in that The Fugitive. He was in that Fugitive movie with
that other guy.
Can't think of him.
That other guy. Ooh.
Harrison Ford.
Ooh. Ooh.
Harrison Ford. Anyway.
Ooh.
So he Monk goes to bed, and then this guy is gambling with these people. Next morning, Monk had like a sip of alcohol, and he has a hangover, he thinks. And the guy said he had a great remedy for a hangover. He goes to find him, and everybody pretends like he never was there. And he even went to the room where he said he was staying, which was number 202. And he wasn't there, and because it was an Italian guy, and nobody had ever seen him, heard of him. And so that was the whole mystery, and then this bad guy shows up who's looking for this guy because he stole money, and he wants that money. And so you've got like a mystery upon a mystery upon a mystery, like they're adding up. And so of course Monk solves all the mysteries in the middle of being stone cold drunk, because he asked for some wine that was non-alcoholic, and they gave him alcoholic wine instead, and he like drank it like it was soda pop. So it was funny, and then at the end he passed out, and they figured out the rest of the episode, and that was it. But it was pretty good. Okay, my number 5 is Mr. Monk Stays in Bed, and this is the worst thing for him because he's so fastidious and worried about germs.
Fastidious.
He gets really sick. He gets really sick in bed. He has
sick.
2 vaporizers, which is the machine that puts steam into the air so you can breathe better. They are really nice, and you have to fill them, 2 going. Natalie's helping, and her daughter's helping, and this was really kind of cute that her daughter gives him a card, and this isn't realistic. I don't know how they did it, but it's a card that has a music chip, and she says it has a lasting period of 10 years, and once you open it, you won't shut off, and it plays Polly Wally Doodle All Day or something. And anyway, that ends up saving Mr. Monk and Natalie, and that little song, then the whole mystery. It's really good. It's fun, and it's and him being sick, and he doesn't like the card because he can't stand, because he just keeps going. And that would never happen. That is unrealistic. I bought plenty of those cards, and all you have to do is just shut them, and they shut off. They never keep going like that.
Why?
And they also wear out, too. There's no 10-year chip. That was all made up.
10-year chip?
That's what she said. The little girl said that.
I want a 10-year chip.
Okay, number 4 is Mr. Monk goes to the office, and this guy gets his hand shut in a door, and another guy gets murdered. And so Mr. Monk has to go undercover and be in an office, and he gets to do all kinds of menial tasks, which he really loves, separating paper clips by color and retyping people's reports and all kinds of like menial things. And he figures out this mystery was really good, and it's very interesting because a lot of people know how to read lips, and that was the clue, and big clue in the mystery is the killer, the bad guy who was doing bad things in the company, and they thought it was the guy who was injured. They thought he was betraying his job in his company. And
say what you liked about it, Safi. I mean, God.
Well, it was really, I thought it was really creative. that they got this thing with reading lips.
Well, I thought it was terrible because a monk going to the bowling alley and they
I thought
won't.
you'd like that.
No, I like the episode. I'm saying it's terrible what they did to him.
I didn't like that
where
at all.
they got mad at him
And then
because
they
he
wouldn't have
didn't want to
anything
wear
do
the
with him.
shoe. Yeah.
Because he has a thing about, and they could have figured that out at the beginning.
Yeah.
And before he even went there, they had plenty of time for him to go buy a pair of
It's like
bowling shoes.
they would have known
yeah.
that he would have had a problem.
Yes. And
it-
that I didn't like that part at all.
Natalie knew that he wouldn't have done that, so
Yeah,
they would have figured it out.
You know, Marco has been a bowler for years, and so we had been to the bowling alley every week, and more than once a week. And he's been in tournaments and all. We know all about the shoe thing.
And to be fair, it is a valid point, unfortunately.
Yes,
like,
it is.
you know, he almost got a perfect game, but he did not wear proper bowling shoes.
And they wouldn't let him continue unless he could get them, and he could wear like one of the shoes they had for rent, but he didn't want to. He was very, like I said, he was very funny about other people's things, like that he wouldn't touch them. It had to have been something that he owned that belonged to him, and he wouldn't do it. So anyway, that part I didn't like, but I thought it was very creative, the mystery. Okay, I gotta hurry up. Okay, number 3 is Mr. Monk Goes Home. One good thing about this, it's a Halloween episode. The next thing is, what's his name, Totoro?
Ambrose Tatura.
Ambrose is his brother, and involves his brother. And, God, what was the third thing?
Candy bars.
Uh,
Candy bars. It's all about, because Safi has to explain every episode for some reason, it's all about there's this guy dressed like Frankenstein, and he shoots a cop after he robs and gets candy bars or something, and it turns out that he poisoned a candy bar and to give to his wife, or he poisoned a certain amount, and then after his wife died, all the candy bars are going around, and he doesn't want people to find out that there's poison in the candy bars, because then it would trace back to him poisoning them. And so he's going around causing chaos, just like terrorizing children and stuff, and
that was the mystery.
It's
I
really
liked
good.
Yeah, I like the mystery. I like the actor who plays his brother.
It's a perfect
he does an
episode.
excellent job.
Yeah.
And in fact, Marco said that the first time he was in an episode with him, he got an Emmy for his performance.
Ow!
And I don't know about this performance, but anyway, he's a good actor, and he's a perfect. And Marco said this was the last time he's in the show, which is bizarre, because he does such a good job.
See how that's weird, like with the captain's wife, and then
Would you stop it?
Ambrose.
Okay, next one is number 2, Mr. Monk and the astronaut. I know Marco loves this episode, but I thought the mystery, it was intriguing, it was creative.
It's
but
rewatchable.
It was pretty, yes, it's rewatchable. The mystery is just like really outlandish, and like, I don't know if it could happen or not, but it was really, I mean, for him to even put it together and figure it out, which the astronaut was full of himself, like you never see that in real life. Astronauts are real, like, good old American boys. I mean, they just are well, we haven't seen too many American girls that got killed up in space, but they've all been like perfect people practically, and they're heroes. And like, we have John Glenn, and then we had Neil Armstrong, and they're actually from Ohio.
Not my heroes.
And but I mean, this guy was
my hero is Morton Downey Jr.
This guy was full of himself, and he was an abuser, and he killed a woman, and the way he killed her, that was the mystery, because Monk knew it was him, but he was in space. How could he kill her when he's in space? And so they figured out what it was, and it was really good. I mean, it was very creative and kind of almost unbelievable, but I guess it could be done.
There's certain types of Monk episodes where you know who the killer is from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And it's all about how...
And you knew that, too.
The killer
showed it.
is like just proud of it, and he's like really like taunting Monk the whole episode. So at the end, it's very satisfying that he kills, that he catches the bad guy. And this is the prime example of that, where, you know, the whole episode, it's like, you know, you think in real life he would probably get away with it because of how inept they are. But since it's Monk, he doesn't let that happen.
No.
And it's just really cool.
It is, and then the mystery is just unbelievable. It's out of this world. So my number one, and it probably would freak Marco out, but I've already watched it 3 times.
I hated that
going
episode.
on 4. And it's Mr. Monk Gets Jury Duty.
It's not a good finale.
And I love it. Well, the thing is, if you want to consider it a finale, it's not a finale.
It's a finale. It's the
it
finale
It
of
could
the season.
happen in the middle of the season.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's the thing. They don't know how to do finales.
Yeah.
And I'm almost... We've watched so many shows where they don't know how to do finales. I don't even know if I know what a finale looks like. I'd have to watch...
Hell on Wheels had great finales.
I'd have to watch a show with a regular finale to see what it looks like.
Hannibal seasons 1 and 2 finales were fantastic.
Well, I'm thinking about Grimm, and what they would usually do, they would have something that would hang, and then they would have to pick it up the next season.
Being Human, Bates Motel, Californication.
Yeah, this show, that is their one weakness, I would think.
It's a big weakness.
Was they do not know how to do finales. So this episode, you would never know it was if it was a finale. It's just there's no indication of that. And the reason why I liked it, it was one mystery and another mystery, and they all came together. And then the other thing was that I liked was he had to learn to deal. He was on a jury. The jury is, 12 people, whatever, and you go into a room and you have to decide something, and so you have to have everybody on board. You can't have 5 people are for it and the other ones are against it, and everybody has to be on the same page.
And see, another...
Or they call it a hung jury, and they have to abandon it and start a new jury.
Guys, another thing that you should take into consideration is that Safi has never seen 12 Angry Men, and so she does not really understand that this is basically just a big spoof on that movie.
I've never seen that. I've heard all about it from many people, but I've never seen the movie. And but I thought it was really good because he had to deal with all these people. He doesn't like to work with people. He says that in the episode, like at least twice. I like to be alone. I'm a lone wolf. And then they say, well, I'm sorry, but you have us to deal with too. But they have to learn to deal with him. And he is a very unique person. He has all these phobias and quirks that they're not used to seeing. And some of them are impatient and they get mad. But it all ends up in a good way because they solve the mystery. He shows them. They get to see. I didn't know this either, and I don't know if this is true, but they bring in all the evidence from the case. They're on a very simple case, and but of course it will send the wrong person to prison, and so it is important. And but they get to see all the evidence. It's all bagged up in its individual bags, like 3 pieces, like pants, a cloth with blood on it, and the weapon. And they're each in their individual bag, and he looks at me, ranges them on the table in their bags over and over again. They're like going, what the hell? And then he figures it out, and he says what it is, and he gets them on board. He has to do something again because they're not quite all on board, and he finally gets them all to agree, and then this other mystery comes into play, and it's just really good. I've watched it 3 times. I might watch it one more time.
Oh, God, Safi,
anyway,
that is
that's
bizarre.
it. So that is my season
No,
4, and
that's
I
not-
have to.
That's not your review. What's your food review
I
for
have
the
to,
season?
and I guess I'm going to give it a big chef salad. And the
Ugh.
reason why is the very
Gross.
beginning of this episode, you see him, and he said,
Episode?
"I want to episode." Yeah, we'll out this jury duty episode.
Oh,
He and this is something that is just again his particular quirk. He makes all his own meals. He puts each one in a plastic Tupperware container, and that's a big thing for resellers is Tupperware. I had 3 little clamshell hot pink boxes that were Tupperware. They'd never been used, and I sold those. I don't even sell Tupperware usually, but a lot of resellers.
hey, Safi.
Right. Anyway, he
You think
packs all of each individual meal in a Tupperware container. So Natalie brings him a salad to. He says, "I'm going to leave it downstairs for your dinner because they have to go over because of all this disagreement with him and the evidence and everything." And
Well,
so
Safi.
I'm thinking that because of the season, chef salad has vegetables, it has meat and cheese.
But
I haven't had one in a long time.
The problem
and it's really
is-
good. It has a lot of different elements to it.
it's a weird rating because like most of the season you didn't even like. Like you
No,
didn't
I
like
liked it.
6
I mean-
out of 10 episodes, 6 out of 16. That's a pretty big number.
Well,
And
that's not true.
Number 2, you think Dahmer liked Tupperware?
Oh, God. Anyway, Tupperware is a big part of his life.
Yeah, he loves Tupperware,
And that is...
and he
this-
loves his wipes.
Yes.
He
his
likes
wife
he
and
likes
his-
to wipe.
and he likes wipes. He likes wipes. So anyway, I should have... yeah.
You like to wipe, Safi?
I should have... So anyway, that is my review of season 4. And what we have coming up is Marco wants me, which is stupid and I can't stand
Oh,
it.
you have
He
to.
wants me to think of 25 women actors and 25 actresses and 25 male actors who would be good to work with him, and then I have to rank them.
And you have
So,
to
like I
say
said, this
the
would be the worst.
reasoning.
This would be the worst person to work with, Marco.
No, just they're all good, but it's just like this is the least out of the bunch.
Right, and so that's what I have to do for tomorrow.
and
I'm
you-
really excited about it. Can you tell?
And you have to
Not.
give reasoning for each one, and you have to say what role and what movie it would be.
Oh, that's ridiculous, and that's just bullshit.
But that's what I did with the passed away actors. I s-
okay. Well,
I
I'd
said
rather do that.
There was this one actress, and there was this movie that they made, and she had played the character in the play version of the movie, and then they shot the movie and they changed the actress, and I thought, wow, it would have been cool to have her star in like a remake of that movie because I think her portrayal sounded better. And so that was just like one example of like, what you'd have to do. And then I pitched like a rom-com with this one woman where she works at a bakery and she fights Nazis and stuff. And like
Okay, well, I don't know how I'm going to do all that, but
you have to be creative.
plus I have to look for this inventory item that should have been sent out today, and I want to send it out tomorrow, and it's very breakable and heavy and big.
You have to be very creative, Safi.
So I'm done. So goodbye, everybody.
It's a big project.
Goodbye, everybody. Marco.
Goodbye who?
Goodbye.
Goodbye.